There's a version of you that never had to suffer. You may have or may have not given it a thought, but that version lived differently from the start. With the entire universe's support, it lived with clarity and stability. That version was protected from the pain you experienced, and their path moved forward without breaking or meeting any hindrances. However, that life didn't happen even in your imagination. But if you put your whole self to the belief of it, you find that it's real and it's still active. You can absolutely create this life for yourself. You have the capability. This is a factual and proven concept. Modern theories about parallel timelines and quantum identity suggest that every major possibility continues to exist as alternate outcomes your consciousness stays linked to. The person you could have been, the one who felt safe, confident, and free, isn't gone. They're living right now in a timeline where your story unfolded without the same pain. What you sometimes feel as a distant possibility or a strange familiarity isn't imagination. It's a reflection of those other timelines, especially the one where you never had to carry what you're carrying now. In the next 10 minutes, you'll understand what I'm saying. Let's begin. 1. Every choice you didn't make created another you who did. Every time you stood at a turning point and went in one direction, a version of you went in the other. That pattern happens at every decision level, whether it was choosing to speak up or to remain silent, to leave a situation or to stay, to trust or to avoid risk. Those moments of action formed the structure of this version of your life, but they also gave rise to outcomes you didn't experience firsthand. According to theories in quantum physics, particularly those exploring the many worlds interpretation, all possibilities born from a decision remain active across distinct but simultaneous paths. From that view, the version of you who said yes instead of hesitating, who changed direction instead of complying, remains fully alive in another timeline. That individual didn't override your experience. They simply followed a different progression that still continues in parallel to this one. This idea is not limited to physics. Certain branches of consciousness theory suggest that awareness itself is not locked into a single path. Your attention is focused here, but you stay connected, even subtly, to those alternate configurations. That includes the version of you who made the choice to live without fear, without hesitation, and without absorbing the pain you've carried. Their life didn't replace yours. It evolved alongside it. 2. There's a you who was never broken, only built. Development happens in many forms. One version of you progressed without collapse. That version faced difficulty, but it never reached the point of losing direction or identity. Stability wasn't something they fought to reclaim. It was a foundation they were given early, and it remained intact. In psychological development models, the environment in early life heavily influences how identity forms. When care is consistent and pressure is manageable, a person tends to build self-understanding without fragmentation. The version of you that formed under those conditions didn't lose time in recovery. They spent those same years advancing through learning, connection, and forward momentum. Their life reflects what happens when growth isn't built on survival. They had space to explore without caution, to connect without fear, and to express without self-censorship. Their emotional structure is different, not because of luck, but because of the absence of interruption. They are part of you, still available, and still influencing your sense of what life should feel like. 3. The life you dream about isn't fiction, it's memory bleed. Recurring dreams often contain places, feelings, or people that don't match your current life, but still feel familiar. These dream states can seem vivid, consistent, and emotionally specific, even when they have no clear origin. That quality makes them distinct from fantasy or imagination. In cognitive science, memory is understood as non-linear. Emotional experiences, visual imprints, and personal imagery can resurface from layers not immediately available to waking awareness. Some researchers and consciousness theorists propose that these images may belong to alternate continuities of the self, especially when they repeat with structure rather than randomness. When you wake from a dream that doesn't feel constructed, when it carries emotional weight and coherence, it may be evidence of data bleeding through from a version of life still occurring in parallel. These aren't glimpses into fantasy. They reflect continuity beyond this timeline, and they often appear when the boundary between mental focus and subconscious access becomes thin. 4. You're not envious of others. You're homesick for yourself. There are moments when another person's peace or confidence triggers something deeper than comparison. You may feel drawn toward them, but what stirs isn't competition or inadequacy. It's a kind of recognition. They represent something that feels close to home, even if you've never lived it in this form. This sensation appears most clearly during silence, in dreams, or in moments when your attention softens. You may remember a specific image of yourself that never fully existed in this life, walking with more clarity, speaking with more certainty, or surrounded by connection that feels real but unexplained. That version feels like it belongs to you, not as a goal, but as a known reference. This type of homesickness doesn't attach to external achievements. It responds to alignment. You feel it when your current state disconnects from an internal structure that still remembers what balance feels like. The emotional pull isn't about reaching someone else's life. It reflects your proximity to a version of yourself that still holds what you're missing here. 5. You feel pulled towards something better because it exists right now. A persistent internal pull toward a different life often signals more than dissatisfaction. It behaves like direction, steady, clear, and unforced. It continues even when your current situation changes, which suggests it's not tied to external frustration, but to an active point of connection with another version of your identity. In systems that explore multidimensional identity, proximity is defined by attention rather than geography. Alternate outcomes don't exist in far-off locations. They occupy the same present, organized by frequency, decision patterns, and consciousness alignment. This makes the better life you sense an active version of your existence, not a hypothetical, but a structure running in parallel to this one. The reason you keep returning to that internal sense of a better state is because it's functioning now. You are already connected to it. That connection may be incomplete, but it's real. The feeling of movement towards something isn't a metaphor. It's your internal structure orienting toward an available configuration of self. 6. That unshakable vision of who you could be, that's not imagination. Sometimes, without effort, a specific image of yourself arrives, fully formed, detailed, and emotionally grounded. You see yourself acting, speaking, or living in a way that feels stable and clear. These visions often remain consistent over time, repeating without needing to be rehearsed. This is not the behavior of fantasy. In cognitive terms, the brain does not sustain exact configurations for long periods unless those patterns are grounded in real data. The version of you that shows up in those recurring mental images is not something you invented. It's something you still share alignment with, especially if those glimpses bring a sense of peace or truth. You're not building that image from scratch. You're accessing something active. The version of you that moves through life in that way already exists, and the fact that you can visualize them with such precision suggests that the connection between your current self and that identity remains open. 7. You can merge timelines, but only if you let go of the one that keeps you hurt. Timelines are not fixed. They respond to direction, attention, and attachment. When pain becomes familiar, it stabilizes your identity in one specific version of life. That version continues until it's interrupted by action or release. Pain alone doesn't maintain the timeline, but staying oriented around it does. Many systems of thought, from therapeutic models to metaphysical theories, describe personal identity as shaped by repeated emotional reinforcement. When a person remains in pain long after the event ends, their emotional signature keeps them aligned with a specific configuration of reality. Other versions of life remain active but distant. Merging into a different timeline does not require denial of experience. It requires the decision to stop organizing around the wound. Release is not forgetting. It is the removal of loyalty to the pattern that holds you in a limited configuration. Once that loyalty fades, alignment becomes possible with the version of life where pain was never the center. 8. You are living one version, but infinite selves run beside you. Right now, you are inside one version of yourself, but this is not the full extent of who you are. Alongside this timeline, countless others remain active, each carrying different outcomes based on decisions you could have made. This isn't speculative. It's the direct implication of models that treat time and identity as multidimensional. In this framework, the self isn't singular. It functions more like a field, with awareness tuned to a specific experience while remaining connected to others in varying degrees. These alternate versions don't replace this one. They continue beside it, structured by different histories and reinforced by different perceptions. Your attention stays focused here, but your sense of possibility comes from the pressure of those other versions. You feel them when change becomes necessary. You sense them when your current direction feels narrow. They influence you constantly, not through force, but through subtle information still passing between the lives you are living. 9. You're not becoming that you're returning to them. Growth is usually framed as forward motion, but many people who experience deep change describe it as something else, remembering. They often say they feel like themselves again, not a new version, but the original one they lost track of. This language reflects something important. The version of you that holds balance, trust, and strength didn't evolve separately. They remained where the path first diverged. In that timeline, you continued without interruption. Your current state may have taken a different route, but the alignment you once had wasn't erased. It remained available. When you return to that sense of clarity, you're not becoming something unfamiliar. You're re-entering a state that's always remained stable, even while you changed. The sense of ease you touch in brief moments is a sign that you're near them again. And each time it lasts longer, that return becomes more complete. If you have made it this far, let us know what you think in the comment section below. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.